Okay, well, we just want to welcome you to a special Pneuma of Now podcast. We have a very special guest, Maja, with Vibration Translation. We're going to talk about her content. We're going to talk about her YouTube, her writing, her portal artwork, any number of things. There's a little bit of an outline, but more than anything, we both have something in common regarding the power of dialogue. And when I came across Maja's content about a month ago, I just knew that we had the opportunity to meet each other, have a great conversation. We've been taking a couple of weeks to just bounce some messages back and forth and roll this podcast idea out for everybody. Been keeping a little bit of a secret, but I want to read something just as the intro here, just real quick. But this, obviously, I'm your host, Richard Blankenship, the triple guru from Kansas. And when I say triple guru, I mean me, myself, and I, not looking out to the outside world, but really inside resourcing. And I feel like Maja is definitely on the vibration in regards to that. So let me read this little intro just real quick. We just want to welcome everybody, the new subscribers, the old subscribers. Thank you so much. We're turning a corner with the Luminal Mind channel. And today we're basically going to explore how our perceptions shape our reality and how we can transcend our limitations to discover the profound beauty of existence. Maja brings a unique blend of insights from her journey, encouraging us to peel back the layers of the mundane, to uncover the extraordinary within and around us. So we ask you to stay tuned, tune in as we unravel the tapestry of the mind, the fabric of the mind, engage with the unknown, and embark on a path that promises elevation and enlightenment. Whether you're seeking solace or a spark to ignite your next big leap, this conversation promises to offer a new lens through which to view your world. So thank you, and join us as we step into the vastness of potential with Maja, guiding us through the landscape of our own inner verses. And I want to make and I want to make mention that this episode is brought to you by curiosity, authenticity, and random chance encounters. Thank you so much for being here. You've given me something really to look forward to. I've really enjoyed the preparatory process, and I've learned a lot about myself in the last couple weeks. So just introduce yourself briefly with anything you'd like to say as far as that goes. And then really my first question really is just helping you to encapsulate the vision for your own channel, what you want to do with it, maybe where it's kind of gone and how it's morphed. I know it's morphed over the years. And then for Maja specifically, I got my thumbs painted yellow.
Oh my gosh. I got them gold actually.
Oh, that's beautiful. But I
was like, it's too gold. It's so funny. So, oh my gosh, thank you. That was so beautiful. It was such an honor, like for me to be here and for you to really dive in. Like it's really nice to feel like, you know, I'm being seen by somebody. So I really appreciate that. And the care that you put into it. And I love that you said you enjoyed the preparatory process, because sometimes, you know, I can get into an anxious feeling about when I'm really excited about something. I confuse the anxious and the anxiety and the excitement. But I love that you said that you enjoy it, because it's all about enjoying the process. So who am I? Oh my gosh, what I do? How do I introduce myself? I feel like you did better than me at introducing myself. What should I say?
Well, I mean, let's just maybe just about your YouTube specifically. Obviously, that's kind of how I found you. I am absolutely admire your writing. So everything you're going to want to see is in the description here. Beautiful writings, some collaborative pieces, and Maja has just really bowled me over, and it really just inspired me and already helped me out a great deal. I mean, just the thought process, the philosophy, the understanding that the beingness that we are really does affect the world around us, how the world responds to us. And so any of these concepts here, if you need me to give you a really direct question, I'm happy to.
Okay, I got it. I think it's just easing in sometimes to something. It takes a little bit for me, but so I had a YouTube channel for actually 5 years, not doing it consistently, but I began with I began when I was 17, so I'm 22 now, but when I was 17, I started a YouTube channel because ever since I was about like 12, 13, 14, like those ages, I was like into the spiritual stuff. Nobody around me was into the spiritual stuff. Can you hear me well?
Oh, you sound great.
Okay. Okay, great. So nobody was really around me into the spiritual stuff. Like I tried getting like my friends in high school to be like, oh, like let's do like a meditation, or like I was into the Ouija board and stuff like that. So I was into all that like spiritual stuff. And then, I realized I just want to share about it because that's pretty much all my free time, besides a little addiction to video games or a large addiction that I had in high school. I was just watching spiritual videos on YouTube, Teal Swan, all those people. And so I just wanted to share my own story and my own experience of that through my YouTube, just to share with people and feel like, I'm having reciprocity, people want to actually come and listen to this kind of stuff. Because again, in person, I didn't really have that. And then I got into psychedelics. So I think I started taking psychedelics when I was 19 first. And then I had a lot, from then. I'm taking a little break now, but I had a bunch of psilocybin, LSD, ayahuasca. I really went into the plant medicine world as a means of, connecting more to myself and seeing, is there anything beyond the physical? Because I got a sense of that and it made sense to me. Like when I was about 12 or 13, I don't really remember, but I read that quote, you're a spirit experiencing yourself in a human for a little bit. So I read that quote and I was like, oh, that makes sense. Like that totally makes sense. But I wasn't really sure, like, is there anything really behind the physical, like beyond the physical? Is there really anything there? Like I had a sense, but I didn't really experience it. So I'm like, okay, psychedelics are gonna let me experience something beyond and I'm gonna have proof. But there's also certain attachments that came with that. Anyway, why I have my YouTube now. So all those videos got privated. They're not anymore from that era of my life. That was over a couple years. Now, what I started it's again on the same thing of the spiritual journey, but a big part of why I share also now is because it's an interactive space. Like it's not just me talking about myself. It's an interaction with the world, and through that I learn about myself. Like and it's also helping me because I intentionally put aspects of myself out into the public, into the YouTube, as a means of also healing myself. Like it's a part of my healing process to put that stuff out there, to really step into it and be authentic and really feel like I'm doing that process. And also I run a podcast called Vibration Translation. So on there, I focus on the spiritual awakening journey, whatever people want to call it. I bring in people that are on the spiritual path, however they want to term it themselves, and just see where they are at. People that I feel like, I admire or inspire me in some way, or on the vibration, as I call it, just on the, spiritual wavelength. Because I feel like this is definitely a wavelength. and seeing how they walk their path, what I can learn from them, how we can both teach each other, and also to, be like, hey, we're not alone on this path, because I know it feels very lonely and like you're going crazy and all these things, but actually it's a convergence, it's a togetherness. And like I texted you before, there's this quote that says, the more you meet yourself, you can only meet yourself as much as you've met somebody, no. Opposite. You can only meet somebody else as much as you've met yourself, but also through other people, I meet more of myself. So it's this like feedback loop that I'm trying to do. So I can really, the whole goal of this is to dive deeper into my own spiritual journey, but also through that share with the world the things that I come to know, which is that we are so incredibly powerful, and how can we like really just understand this? Yeah.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Take a sip of water. I need to clear my throat.
I know.
No, this is beautiful. Like, I have so many things. I think one of your podcasts, so she's got 4 episodes podcast, really great content, really great guests. Really want you to recommend checking that out. But somebody asked you a question, and you answered this question. I think we kind of have this in common, but this fear of not finding our soul tribe, or the worry that we're not going to find those connected souls and the other people people in the universe that really are on the vibration. And so I think really it took me maybe one or two videos, but you said something really early on in my understanding of what you were uploading to YouTube about finding the power of your voice. And much the same way, my YouTube channel is for me and my own spiritual growth as much as it is to share it with others and build that community. You know, we all know that the numbers don't matter. If you have 1 million subs, you want 2 million subs. So we just do the thing for the love. And so much of what
Yep.
you just said there, I really feel the same about my channel as it moves and morphs and changes. Wasn't really going to do interviews this year, but your content inspired me to just say, fuck it. I'm going to just send this cool chick a message and just see what the universe happens. And you were super responsive. Really enjoyed getting to know you over the last couple weeks. But as far as like a specific question, can you speak to the journey, even like before you found your voice, and then kind of that small, large, or just extravagant understanding of that vocal power? Because that's a challenge that I've had. You know, just real quick, it's taken me 5 years or more to get comfortable with my voice. And I had to record my voice for almost a year and listen back to it in order to get comfortable. So now that when I'm editing my videos, I don't have cringe all over myself. So if any of that makes sense, you can take it from
Yes.
there.
So you want me to talk about my journey before I found my voice? Well, I'm still finding my voice, definitely, right? It keeps going and unfolding, of course, you know. So I always knew, for example, when it came to writing, that I was like, you know what, I know I can write, and I know what I write can have some resonance. I remember being in like middle school and writing something and my teacher being like, oh, Maya, you should really like read that out loud to the class, because people were reading it out loud. But I was not, everybody was raising their hand and I'm like, I'm not budging, nope, I'm not doing it. Because I grew up really shy. Maybe it's because I grew up in Poland for the first 6 years of my life, so they have a bit different culture over there. But, you know, I came to America when I was 6, and I didn't speak any of the language, so maybe this also affected me and like feeling like different, or like people don't understand me. That could have been a part of it also. But yeah, like when I was in middle school in that moment, I didn't want to speak in the class, and I waited till the last moment, and I really wanted to, but I was so anxious. But the teacher at the end, she called on me and I'm like, okay, fine. Like, okay, fine, I'll read it. And everybody liked it, you know, but it's like these things where it's like we have this untapped potential within ourselves, but I've been like so scared to even like engage with that. And instead I succumb to these self-sabotaging adaptations, really, because they were trying to help protect me, these parts of myself. I've been doing a lot of like parts work. But that's a big question. Can you repeat which point you want me to focus in on?
Well, just you had just this moment, whether it was with your plant medicine experience, where you're
Right.
explaining about the purging of energies and just kind of having some difficulties with your voice and seeing that it's just kind of coming out and blossoming, whether you want to look at that as a chakra system, you know, the larynx, the power of the larynx, that we are human beings that can co-create with sound and communicate. All those things fascinate me. You know, we're both lovers of literature. I love that you read books. I love your taste in music. But as far as that process of realizing that you were kind of blocked, and then wow, there is an opening. Like just anything you can help
Okay.
others understand, because I guarantee you there's millions of people out there that are on the cusp of finding that voice and they're just
Right.
holding themselves back.
Okay. So, yes, I've taken a lot of ayahuasca, and my second ever ayahuasca experience, I started, this moment was particularly potent in me realizing that I was holding a lot in, and there was a lot of like sadness and almost like I'm not doing something that I came here to do or something like this. I was looking into this bucket, and after I was vomiting a lot and literally felt like an infinite string of vomit. I was just, you know, and these experiences on psychedelics and plant medicine, they're just so visceral. It's like you are that entire experience. So it's like this infinite tunnel of vomit. And then at the end of that actually was a snake that started hissing out of my mouth. So I was literally hissing into, and it's so crazy, but into this bucket that was in a portal to another world. And I was like communicating with my long lost snake family or something. That's how it felt. But it felt like and I was really just getting a lot out and feeling like processing every single emotion at the same time. So that happened in the second ever ayahuasca, but then my last ayahuasca experience, which was the 16th, not like I take a bunch of ayahuasca. This was like in 3 different retreats that I went, but the last experience I had, I really had to face my fear of one, feeling like I'm gonna look insane, that when I'm actually expressing my true self, and that I'm not going to be accepted to a community of people that I was around that were on the vibration, that were, spiritual in tune with that stuff. And I felt like I wasn't even going to belong to that community. So I'm like, if I don't belong to this community and they don't accept me, where am I supposed to belong? So it's just, I guess, the emotional experience of that. Yes, ayahuasca is crazy intense and like abstract, and I'm not going to go into that entire experience, but the emotional aspect of that was just, there was this one moment where it's like there's so much beauty that I know there is to step into just through the self-expression of yourself, because that's like, as Bashar says, and this totally resonates with me because I've been watching a lot of Bashar lately, that's the purpose of your life, just to literally be fully, authentically yourself. And so I had this moment where it's like there's so much beauty to step into if I accept that this is the case, and I know this is like I really felt it, like yes, like just to fully be myself, but there was this past holding me back of this fear of like people are gonna like think you're crazy no matter where you go, whatever. And I had this whole experience on ayahuasca where just this whole delusion that she had me experience my biggest fear of, all these people are looking at me weird and they're like judging me and they're talking about me, all this, like nobody was doing that, nobody was actually doing that. But I had this like crazy, like visceral, like, oh my gosh, like I need to go hide myself away. But yet this feeling of like, but I need to express, even if that would be the case, I just couldn't hold back anymore. And there was a point where the medicine completely took over, and then it's like all these sounds are coming out of me. I can't even control them. Like light, that's where light language opened up for me. I just started spitting it out. I don't know even what I'm saying. This one lady was sitting next to me, so she could confirm that this was actually happening. She's like, you were speaking just light language. And I'm like, yeah, I know. So it was just like, and at that point, I was brought back to like, because I was sitting at the fire and I was just like, this light language is coming out like as I was like bent over the bucket. And then one of the helpers, he takes me back and he's like, okay, now is the time to kind of be more quiet. And I'm like, okay, I understand, because they were closing the ceremony. But I was like, it was just hard because I was holding it in for so long. So that feeling of like you holding in something for so long and finally like emotionally expressing, no matter, or just expressing yourself, in that moment, it's emotional, but just expressing yourself, even if, and doesn't matter if people are judging you, because they're going to be judging you even either way. And not to the intensity that I was experiencing in that moment, but this kind of showed me like, even if that fear is there, it's the closer you are to actually embracing yourself and breaking that fear is when the most fear shows up for you. But it's like you can't even, it's like a gate floods open and you can't hold it back anymore. But you don't have to have yourself get to that point. That was just my process of feeling like that needed to happen in that experience for me to realize the power of the expression and the beauty, and that's the way forwards.
That's awesome. No, it's awesome. And I'll just mention that really, of anybody who's actually chronicled or discussed their own ayahuasca experience, you've done probably the best I've seen of really encapsulating what that might be like. Obviously, I don't have any idea. My only experience with psychedelics is with psilocybin, maybe a dozen times in 40 years, 44 years. But that experience to me, really, that's probably my favorite consciousness expansion exercise. It's never been something I've sought out. The universe just kind of says, hey, you're ready for it. And there's a person over there that has some. And I really do a better job with my psilocybin or psychedelic experiences just all by myself. Anytime I've been in a group. Now, there's been a couple of times where in a group it's been really great, but really I've learned that for me it's just a dark room, a notepad, a pen and paper, maybe some Terrence McKenna videos. I like listening to Terrence McKenna when I'm on psilocybin. I like to try to write prose and poetry that comes out weird and augmented, and I just love
Yes.
it. But, I'm not doing any of that now, but I do believe that there's absolutely open vessels in that particular instance where I feel like the plant medicine, it's just opening your consciousness. You're connecting with another like living entity, biological mycelium network, all kinds of different things where I feel like it's literally an expanded consciousness because we're connecting and getting into a vibration of another just biological construct, another intelligence, a neural network that's literally like an upgrade. And for me, it's really helped me with my anxiety, my depression, feeling comfortable in my body. I've always had kind of some stomach issues, not really a fan of eating very much. But after my first mushroom experience, it cured any sort of stomach discomfort. Absolutely, it's like a 6 month reset for me. So, really, if it was up to me and this stuff was available in my local area, I would probably have a 6 month psilocybin experience, and that would be it. Nothing every weekend or every month, but I've definitely been expanded, but your explanation of ayahuasca has really intrigued me. I really appreciate your long form video where you actually show the different stuff,
Yeah,
light
the
language.
dieta.
Yeah, the dieta, the imaging, the following the song according to the
Icaros, yeah.
beautiful stuff. All things I had
Yeah.
no knowledge of. I was so fascinated with that content. So I just want to thank you for sharing the ayahuasca side of it, the plant medicine side of it. Do you have any do you have any warnings? Do you have any safety precautions for anybody who might be thinking of going in these ways?
Yeah, and also just in regards to just psychoactive substances, I've taken mushrooms with a person that didn't tell me, but they were schizoaffective. They had a schizoaffective disorder, and they completely, turned into aggression towards me, which it was fine, but it just experienced that I didn't necessarily like know was going to happen. I've had myself a psychosis on acid because, well, I mean, I have a whole video about that, but these things can happen. While I'm grateful for the different states of mind that like, for example, my psychosis, it's a completely different state of mind that I was able to get into that I've never experienced before. My awareness was still there, but I really didn't have control of what the thoughts were going into my head and what was coming out and projecting onto actually physically experiencing it, feeling like I was physically in a different world. So, if you are, but then it's interesting. Of course, if you are schizophrenic, nobody would really recommend this to you. But for example, when I had one of the worst depressions of my life, it wasn't anything like, I'm sure people had it worse than me, but I was pretty depressed. I had some suicidal ideation, and I decided, I'm not going to wait for therapists. I'm going to take 5 grams of mushrooms because I really felt called to it, and it actually scared me of death. I was like, no suicidal ideation after that, and I also really loved that experience. But there was some really, I always have some kind of discomfort, and not that discomfort is bad. It's just that when I go into these states, it feels like everything that I'm experiencing in life and my emotional body is just expanded times a million. So if you're having anxiety, that might make you have a lot more anxiety in the moment, and for one reason or another. And ayahuasca, again, yeah, with that, just make sure, like, right now I'm drinking St. John's wort, but this has SSRI, so you want to make sure you're not taking SSRIs, medication, stuff like that, because they don't know what effects that has with, psychedelics, but also specifically ayahuasca. It's, you have to be ready. You have to feel like you're ready because when I went to my first retreat, I went to arrhythmia. I don't recommend arrhythmia though, but there was this lady that came with her husband, and the husband was like a total psychonaut. He was like, oh my God, we're gonna go to these states. And the lady, she actually came there before, but she wasn't able to go through the process. She came there this time, and after her first ceremony, I saw them, like they left because she just wasn't feeling like she was ready. Because it's like, oh yeah, we'll do it soon. But ayahuasca, it's not some magical healing thing that's gonna cure you for the rest of your life, because that's totally how they advertise it in some places. It's just kind of how they're advertised, especially at arrhythmia. Oh my gosh, you're gonna get your miracle. 99% of people here get their miracle. It's like, dude, like, it's like you are the miracle. Nobody, no plant is gonna, you are the miracle. But there's things that can support you. Are you open to it, or is this the right modality for you? You don't have to take any kind of plant medicine, and you can be the most quote unquote enlightened person in the world. You're like, you don't need it. But it's another doorway if you are being called to it that you're gonna be able to step through. But let me tell you, for me, it's been the most disgusting thing I've ever tasted in my life. I've had the most disgusting vomiting I've ever had in my life, like felt really bad. So yeah, but I'm still grateful for all of that, and I still kept coming back, even though I had really bad experiences, because I see the potential of it. But you really gotta look within, and also, your whole life is a ceremony. I got a tattoo when I just turned 22, when I says, now I am. And like, I just got it because it's like, now I am. Like, it doesn't matter if I'm in ceremony or not. It's always just, I'm just in the present moment. And that's it. That's the gift.
Absolutely. I mean, the podcast, Pneuma of Now. Pneuma is a Greek word meaning spirit, breath. And so I want to ask you real quick and segue, but thank you for all that. That was beautiful, wonderful. But I want to take the next few minutes here and just ask you, do you follow any strict routines, any spiritual things you do all day long, or like do you wake up with a specific thing? Are you just on a daily? Because I know for me, having a routine, I didn't realize how powerful kind of having a set morning routine would be for me. And over the last 5 years, I definitely do. So for me to share that, I wake up, I drink some water, just a little bit. I get my organs woke up, and then I breathe for 20 minutes. Sometimes I breathe while I'm walking, like a walking meditation. I like to get my body into motion early in the morning. And I join a breath. I haven't been doing it lately because I'm breaking pattern. I think it's important to find where our habits and sometimes our routine can be like an addiction in itself, just like our emotions. We're
Yeah.
addicted to our emotional states. But do you have just any routine? That's one of the questions I've got here.
Yeah, so for me, it is shaping and molding, but essentially what I do right now, and I might miss some days, I'm not gonna lie, but I do yoga in the morning because that really helps me. If I don't do yoga or if I don't go for a walk, either or, my body just feels super dense and heavy and like, I just need to move, like, so either walk or yoga. And, really, like, that's the morning. And just, sit and meditate for a little bit, ideally. Sometimes I don't get to it, I'm not gonna lie. But, ideally just do that. If not, then, throughout the day, right now what I've been doing is journaling a lot, like a lot of journaling, a lot of journaling. I like to capture a lot of creativity. It also helps me connect. So I always like voice record myself, like all my insights I get. Whenever I feel like I get an insight, oh, I need to record that or write it down. And also I listen to Bashar or Abraham Hicks. Recently it's been Bashar, but they really and like how Bashar phrased it is you're basically tricking yourself into communicating with your higher self through an external entity. So that really, it just helps me to have somebody else tell me the things so I can,
I
even though
absolutely, I
yeah.
absolutely agree. I mean, I'm the type of person that rolls around a lot of content, and then I really go into that spiritual discernment, like which part of this is really gonna help me to augment my faulty programming, which part of the teaching, even though it sounds crazy to other people, is really gonna like be the arrow that like wakes me up in any dimension of myself. And so yeah, I love all that stuff. I've studied the Abraham Hicks. I like Bashar. I like that kind of material, but I take it with a grain of salt, and I'm very careful to understand as best I can what is there for me specifically.
Yes, and then, to sit with that and those nuggets that do resonate, right, with you, and to sit with them and really take them in. Because it's like I can listen and listen and listen, but if I don't sit with the concept myself, it can kind of fly by and not really sink in.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I had a little joke here. This third grader or a small child goes up to his teacher and he says, "All you teach is useless crap." And the teacher goes, "Don't be so hard on yourself."
Oh,
And so
yeah.
the segue there is we're always so self-critical. You speak to this
Yes.
thing about not judging those negative emotions. You speak about not forcing yourself when we're in that state of judgment on self-judgment. And I speak personally to this thing of effortless ease, looking to nature to understand how we evolve and blossom. You can't force a rose to blossom, it happens in its own timeline. Can you speak to that for just a few moments?
Yeah, actually, this morning I had an experience where I did some yoga. I was laying down meditating, and I've been doing a parts work before. I don't know if you've heard of it, but internal family system therapy has it. Also, Teal Swan has it on her YouTube, where you can kind of have a chair, empty chair in front of you, and you imagine a part of yourself being in that chair. But instead of doing the chair thing, what I just realized this morning is that there's this really aggressive part of me that wants me to get up and do things, and that really despises this part of me that wants to be in the flow and relax. Because in that part's perspective, this part is really lazy. But this is like my more feminine part, and this is my more masculine part. And so instead of them beating up each other and hating each other, it's like, okay, wait, this part is really just trying to get me to do things that I want to do and actually do them, actually get into motion, into action. This part's trying to do the flow thing. And so if they just marry each other instead of just constantly fighting, it's the union of the masculine and the feminine within the self. And I forgot what question you asked, but that was my response.
Well, just about the negative self-judgment, not forcing ourselves in like the negative looping, the negative
Yeah.
thought process. How did you say it? I've got it here somewhere, but really just the whole idea that we are all so hard on ourselves to ease up on ourselves in this process, because the spiritual journey for me, if I had known how difficult and how the subtle kind of darkness would kind of overflow, we have to work through that. I don't know if I would have come on the spiritual journey. So like there's a warning for just being dedicated to this path of self-awakening, where it's just like it's rough. We have to go into the suffering in order to break through to the next open spaces. And I think that's part of it. I mean, that's like you
Yeah.
have to face the demons head on, whatever those are, because anytime you're turning away from them, you're just delaying the progress.
Okay. So with the parts work, I think what I meant to say is, those parts just want to be listened to. The parts that may hate yourself and may beat you up, they have something to tell you, some information. Not that I'm going to take the information of I should actually hate myself. No, I'm saying like those parts hate because they feel like they're not listened to, or they're not actually taken in as a part of yourself. They're not accepted. And so instead of approaching that part with more hate, which is just going to propel, it's a feedback loop of more hate. If a part of you hates you and then another parts of you hate that's that part, you're just going to be in the spiral of hating yourself. And I've gotten into this spiral so many times before. But really what we're asking for is just to sit with it, make space for it, and bring compassion to it, because everything deserves love, everything, because it exists. Even if, it shows up in a way that's not good or aggressive or violent or even evil. I don't think evil's gonna be winning against evil. Like it has to be something with love. Well, this comes into the conversation of, okay, well, you need boundaries. Yes, you need to have some fierceness and stuff with other people, especially if they're coming at you, but something is appearing in your reality for a reason, because probably a part of yourself is also feeling that way towards yourself.
Okay, well, we're back for kind of the second half of this interview with Maja of Vibration Translation. The two of us are trying to get into the vibe together. I think we're having a great time. I know I am. Again, I wasn't going to do interviews this year. It was your content that's already inside of a month kind of opened me up to new possibilities, more self-acceptance, radical self-acceptance. And so I just
That's
really thank you.
the that's the vibration translation of
I love it. I love
I'm
it.
so cheesy. Okay. That's the whole point. Like we're supposed to be vibrate translating our vibrations and teaching each other. That's the idea of vibration translation
Yeah,
for
and
in
I
all the
and
people.
I have the philosophy that we're all teachers and we're all students. And
Yes.
so, I can bring this in right now. I have this concept called eldering early. And what I
Okay.
mean by that is elders are typically the older generations with more experience built up. We know that wisdom is born from experience. But what I've noticed, and some of my friends, because a lot of what I do, I collaborate. So a lot of these ideas are already collaborative ideas before I bring them to the channel. But this is an idea that I kind of had on my own, where it's just eldering early, like people of your generation, people of my generation, just wherever we're at, we have a wisdom set that other people don't have based on our unique sojourn or unique experience in the world. So I want to flush this idea out for myself, but really you reminded me of my concept of this eldering early. Like you have deep inner wisdom that I really want to share with the world. I didn't want to keep this conversation secret. I wanted to air it on the YouTubes because of the power of discourse, the power of discussion, and all the things that are said, unsaid, the subtext, all of those things. But do you have any comments on that aspect?
Yeah, so I call that the interaction space. And this idea came to me very viscerally. So I'm going to go back to a lot of my ayahuasca experiences because that was the pathway of me of understanding. So my first ever ayahuasca experience, I went into this thing called the interaction space where essentially I became energy and it was just very abstract, right? But it was a bunch of energy and it's like the energy of the universe. And then it was me in my form and then I became the energy. And then I was going through and moving as my own life force, interacting with this greater life force energy. And I just realized like, oh my gosh, I'm also here to interact. I'm not just here to like be told what to do and need to be a certain way. I'm here to make my own ripples. I don't have, because I always felt like with the school system and everything that I just need to like receive all this information and I have nothing to say, but I just need to be putting in and putting out. But that's not the case. It's from within also. I'm the most.
Right. So we've talked about this personally, but this aversion to authority and being told what to do at your
Oh yeah.
jobs and having to try to like, I think we have this in common as well, not to be negative, and I struggle with this. How do we report our life and our struggles without sounding like we're complaining and without actually complaining, just reporting the energy of of our lives. But for me, I've always struggled. I've had more jobs than I want to count that I want to admit, and I've literally loathed every one of them. In my current position, I've been here for 2.5 years. I hate every second of it, but I show up as best I can as a Superman every day because I'm kind of forced to at this point. And so that's why I branch out and do all these other things because I need that creative space, that interactive space beyond the work. Because work in my lifetime has just been the most unfulfilling, pointless exercise that I could possibly imagine.
Are you forcing yourself? And I understand, yeah, we need to, like, money is a thing, right? And we're in a society. But if you feel forced, are you forcing yourself in a way?
Every day I have to man up in this weird way to like just get into my work mode and just do what I got to do, whatever's in front of me. So I do get a chance to practice a lot of breath work. I practice a lot of presencing. The benefits of my job is I speak with thousands and thousands of people every month, and that kind of gives you you can't, some things you just can't teach. Some things just require time and tens of thousands. I'm talking 30,000, 50,000 customer experiences in just the last 3 years. That's activated my voice, whether, and I
Right?
have to put up boundaries. I have to say things I don't really want to say that are just in line with the company policies, the voice, the protocols, the
Yeah, I
systems.
understand.
So yeah, when I say I'm forced, I have a box, and if I don't
Like you have
perform
to
within
become
that,
a, yeah,
if I
you
don't
have to become a
perform
certain
within
person.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so
Yeah.
it's not who I am, but it's what I do. And I choose to
Yeah.
show up I choose to show up as authentic and respectful, professional. And I can't tell you how many hundreds and thousands of customers are just like, I am so glad you answered the phone today.
The energy you bring. Yeah. Yeah. So this is an interesting conversation. I guess we started the authority thing. So
Hmm.
I love collaborating. Like I, that's where I get really a lot of energy. If when it has to do with other people, like they're not telling me what to do. It's just like we're brainstorming together and we're creating things together. That's what energizes me. But whenever I went into school, and I just graduated college, right? But I I was kind of like looking at this stuff and I'm like, I feel like we could, I just felt like they were dumbing me down or trying to dumb people down to like, and yeah, some people need things more explained and and I think it's amazing to be able to simply explain things. There's this like Einstein quote, the simpler you can explain it, the better you understand it, something like this. But I just felt like the pace we were going at and the things that I was being told to take in, like literally, in my opinion, what I learned in high school and what the general education was in college was just a whole repeat that I didn't need to go through. I don't know why I had to take those classes. It was just so annoying for me, honestly. Like, it was just annoying. And that's how I was feeling. That's my feeling. Am I complaining right now? I mean, I am annoyed. I'm very like annoyed and very outraged at certain aspects. Yeah, I'm gonna express that too, you know? But I just felt like I wasn't seen, and the uniqueness of each of us and the genius within each of us wasn't really sought out to be brought out. It was more like, okay, everybody's going to be like this. And maybe if you're special, go to a special school, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I've had
So
much the
there's my
same.
annoyance.
Yeah, I've had much the same experience with schooling. You even say this, we're not born into the world as just dumb babies. That's your
Right.
quote. We are
That's my
born
quote.
with this. Yeah, I mean, that's from your channel. Um, and we're basically born with this innate intelligence and wisdom. And as the world domesticates us or forces
Ooh,
us into conformity, these are topics that I talk about a lot here. The opposite of courage is not cowardice, it's conformity. And so, in order to be an artist or a creative, that's an act of rebellion. And I think Luke speaks to that on one of your podcasts.
right.
And if we are conformists, we're literally following the herd, standing in line. Yes, sir. Yes, man. We're not challenging norms. And I know that's
That's
kind of a
easy to
tough.
do.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all
Because
of
you're
that.
not, it's people pleasing. It's not stepping, oh my gosh. And it's like, and I've fallen into these things where I'm just checking myself and making sure everybody's perspective is accommodated and that I'm not stepping on anybody's toes. I mean, how can you even live life like that? You can't.
But we all have. I mean, I had to.
Yeah, we all have.
A good buddy of mine had to tell me of my codependent trait. I didn't even know what the word codependence was. And so, like, in the last 5 years or more, more of these new concepts come into the fold that really helped me out. I absolutely lived a codependent life, a people pleasing life. And to some extent, I still do. Obviously, I do need to keep my job. I want to keep my job. Am I looking for other opportunities? Maybe, maybe not. It's just I'm trying to live my own creative life almost regardless of what I'm kind of forced to do, as you put it. Now, obviously, I have a choice. I could put in my 2 weeks and I could just go a different direction. But yeah, I worry about where the food's going to come from, where the roof's going to come from. So yeah, in my world, I do feel really lonely in as far as navigating like the matrix of society and making rent and paying the bills. I don't have a family unit that's like going to back me up when my bank account goes to zero. So those are some
Right.
pressures that I'm dealing with. Like, I'm real open and honest and vulnerable, not to take too much of the microphone here, but I think this is a really good conversation for people because I know this time in the world people are struggling with obstacles and challenges. And really what I want people to know is, yeah, we're going through that, but we have to go through that in order to level up the entire planet. And we have to do that on an individual level. And I know you understand that. It starts with this internal being, the state of being reflected, the mirror verse, the mirror back. And so I don't really know exactly what question I was going to have at this point, but yeah, just as
We're
far
just
as
continuing.
overcoming this obstacle challenge. My life is difficult. I have no qualms about admitting that. But I keep trucking. Every morning I wake up enthused, energized, and what's the other one? Enthusiastic, energized, and engaged. So those are kind of three of my words. I wear these bracelets as just reminders to not complain. So I actually took like a 90-day no complaining challenge for myself, and it helped. And that's why I like this conversation, because a lot of times I'm just reporting the real facts of my life, and people are like, "Well, you got to stop complaining." Wait, does that mean you just don't want to hear about my struggle? So these are nuanced topics that I'm trying to flush out with people.
Wow. Oh, this conversation can go really deep. And there's a lot of concepts here. For me, what I'm noticing is like, it's how do you realize that the power is within you, right? Because you're realizing that by, okay, I'm able to control how I show up, what energy I bring. Like that I can still be energized even though what's happening in the external isn't at all like what I prefer. And so the power comes from within to change that perspective. And then that's like where the power comes from. But I know this is something that I'm currently like trying to understand, because it's a big topic on how we're able to live our most empowered lives is in how we perceive every challenge, and how we're able to see every challenge as something that is actually here for us to learn from and to benefit from. And that can be extremely hard in the moment to do. And that is like, I can't deny that it is difficult, but then it's like, is that a perception too? But I'm like, but that if your experiences of difficulty, then yeah, I've had many experiences of difficulty with things. It's an interesting thing, because I hear about, like, for example, like right now I'm really into Bashar, and one of the things, like he says, like a lady came up to him and she's like, well, it's not that easy, like life, blah, blah, blah. It's not that easy to do these things, whatever he was talking about. And he's like, well, that's your belief that it's not that easy. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. That's something that I haven't fully digested within myself, because it requires like a fullness of belief within like your perception affecting everything,
Yeah, you're reminding me of a quote by Adishanti, and I'm going to butcher it because I haven't read the quote in a while, but talks about enlightenment is really a destructive process. It's basically the shedding away of all the things we thought were once true. And I work on this belief set. And so everybody in these space, not everybody, but there's definitely a trend in this space to focus on people's belief structures, really. And I'm working on that too, and creating what I call, or what Ernest Holmes, The Science of Mind, one of my favorite works on the planet. If you don't know that, it's worth checking out.
I got the book, but I haven't started reading it. I
It's
got it
worth
because you
checking
mentioned
out.
it.
I've been reading the
Yeah.
book on and off for 20 years. It's really done wonders. I've not read it from cover to cover, but I do follow Reverend Lee Wallach. I interview him on the channel. He's a Science of Mind minister, and it's just really good process. And a lot of their process is based on belief. And that's what I'm trying to do. In order to move my life forward, I have to change my beliefs. And I'm inspecting all that. I do that every day. I'm like, where is my negative thought? I've gained enough awareness over the years with my meditative practices that like I can spot the negative thought, but then it's the power of the choice to I don't know how you refer to it, but I call it bridging thoughts. So like the whole idea of the emotional spectrum of Abraham Hicks or others, when you
Right.
realize you're in one of these lower vibrations, just one thought. Oh, your
Right. Stepping
meditation,
stone.
yeah, stepping stone into the next better thought. It doesn't have to be the most grandiose thing. Just one step above the rung is going to get you to a better state. And I love your meditation about those taking those negative thoughts in the flame, like
Right.
burning them in the flame. I love that. That was pretty awesome episode or upload you did. So anything you want to take off on that?
I think the territory we're getting into the beliefs, not at all things I master, obviously, we're always learning, but it's definitely a right now, very present in my reality concept that I'm exploring. So I like this conversation because it's interesting. The beliefs and then the ego. From my understanding of everything, and I'm open to being wrong, whatever, but from my understanding, it's if we feel worry or fear, that is not a thought or a truth that's actually in alignment with our true selves, God, universe, whatever you want to call it. So those feelings of worry and fear are coming from the ego, are coming from what people call our matrix reality. Of that, yeah, if I don't go to this job, I'm gonna like end up on the street and I'm gonna die and the worst things are gonna happen to me, you know? I mean, would it be that bad to be on the street for a week? I don't like, would it be that bad? I don't know. But like, would that even happen? And like, what does it mean to actually trust fully this universe, you know? Man, I am trying to understand that. And it infuses like some anxiety and fear. Because it's like, what do you mean I'm gonna be okay if I choose to like actually, you know, go based on what actually feels good for me? And is that being selfish? And all these things, you know, all of that comes up.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's so great about these concepts. Really, it circles into many different topics, and so much of this stuff relates in like multiple facets of a diamond. It's the one diamond, but there's multiple facets. Any facet will get you to the center of the diamond. And
Yeah,
so
all the
I like
paths.
these visual metaphors, yeah. And like, what was I gonna say there? This idea of the interactive space that you mentioned, that's interesting. So
Right.
thank you for sharing that little part of
We are
my,
in this, we are in the interactive space right now. And it's
yeah.
trusting that whatever, like, for example, whatever thought I had to come up in the moment, to just to just know that if it feels good, you know, to just know that it's aligned and say it. Because for me, I've had a lot of anxiety, especially in the past, but it's still, you know, there's remnants of it where it's like it's so funny because you're somebody that is so prepared, but I've had this thing where it's like I always thought I need to like be extremely prepared or I'm gonna. So you like triggered that within me because I was like, oh my god, what if I'm not prepared enough for this? Because I was like, oh my gosh, I was working on like not being so like, because I can spend like a lifetime trying to prepare for something and not actually do it. You know what I mean? That's kind of the state I've been in. So I've been going into the flow state. And then I'm like, wait, but like, am I not being prepared? So I had that come up with me when you are appearing as this prepared person. So it's very interesting.
Well, that's the balance. And like I said at the beginning of the episode, like my preparatory process is all just for this one interview has already taught me to loosen up a little bit. Like I could have just kind of gone over and over again. And remember, I mean, this is our first little discussion here. I do hope that there's more than one. But really, I've got about 12 pages of notes here, and there was no chance in hell that we were going to get through even half of it. And so at some
Right.
point here, I'm pretty much just threw the notes away. I do have a couple things I want to make sure to point out in my own admiration for your work. You know, I find it interesting when you meet people in different parts of the country or different parts of the world, how we're really talking about the same thing, but your language, the way you express is new vibration to me. And so it's like, yeah, I'm so in line with that. Yeah, I totally get that. I would have said it differently, but I totally get that. And so I just appreciate the variety of linguistic tricks that you have already brought to the table. And so, yeah, as far as this belief structure, as far as this like following your joys, like I'm scared shitless to just follow my joys and see what happens because my belief based on experience is that I've never seen a dollar bill in my pocket without going to work, job, punching the clock, doing the time, going home, waiting 2 or 3 weeks for the turnaround. You know, if I could find a win, if I could build the belief, I'm going to have to build beliefs. I already know this, one little grain of sand at a time. And the fact that I'm even doing this now, like I built the belief that I want to interview people and I did that a couple years ago. I took a break. I waited for the inspiration to strike, and I just want to thank you over and over again on just kind of awakening another spark in me. There's other content creators that I admire, to be sure, but Maja was the first person that was just like, the spirit was just telling me, whatever's in the background of my reality, just send her a message. See what happens. Living on the edge, getting in your discomfort, being comfortable with
Yes.
uncomfortability.
Yeah. Oh, a lot came up. Okay. So stepping to the edge, actually, one of my favorite artists, Ayla Nerio, she hosts this little living song community, and a lot of the times on the she has like Zoom sessions and she speaks to a bunch of these things, but even with like voice practice or just creative practice of any sort, just literally go to the edge. What sounds weird, like do it now. Just go to the edge of what's that uncomfortable, and then you'll do it, and then of course that'll become comfortable, right? And then you'll go to a new edge, and that's how you expand. But the reason why I responded to you, because I have a few different, I don't have a bunch of people contacting me, but I have a couple other people, and I can kind of tell if I would want to contact them based on the energy, and I just felt a very warm, heart-centered energy from you, and that's why I was like, I would want to connect and do this. It just felt aligned, and that's just the way I'm going forwards. And with the belief structuring you mentioned, so when I went to my ayahuasca retreats, especially my last one, I mean, it's just like mind was completely blown. These medicines, they completely undo these belief, basically these neural structures that hold your beliefs so tightly that you can't even see anything, and they undo it completely, where it's like, okay, I know anything is possible. I know anything's possible, but it's just like, okay, I'm back in physical reality because I always come back here. I'm always back here. Now I am, I'll always be back here, for some time. And then it's like, how do I use that experience to restructure? And it's a process. Yes, it's a process. It doesn't just happen like that. With that, it's not gonna unwire and rewire everything, but it's a process of exactly what you're talking about, which is the choices you make every single day to almost show the universe, like, yeah, I am committed to myself and my path. And that's something I'm working on, definitely, because, whoa, it's a path.
Yeah, well, it's obvious that you're doing the work. It really, really is. And that you've just integrated and assimilated some of these things. And my first experience with mushrooms and psilocybin, as far as a teacher, what I came out of that a couple times was the power of choice. I was reminded that every single step, we are beings, we can locomote. We get to move from point A to point B. Sometimes I'm in awe that I have legs and can move to the other side of the room. And you said something in one of your videos like, we're alive. When's the last time you checked in with that? Really, I'm trying to mimic you on how you say some stuff. No, because it's like so many poignant moments in my mind going through your channel, like just awesome stuff.
Well, I'm glad that it resonates, because it's interesting. I know I'm not just talking to a camera, it's it's the energy behind it. I'm just trying to communicate a lot of the times all the realizations that I've had, and coming back to the moments of where it's either acid, mushrooms, or ayahuasca. This one very potent moment I had on acid, where I was just sitting there. This is before I went into my psychosis, but I was in a good state. Yeah, it went down. It went 360 contrast or 180 contrast, but I was sitting there and everything was vibrating, my entire room. I just saw the vibration of everything. I was seeing ankhs all up on the walls. The vibration was crazy. And then I'm looking at it, I'm looking at my hands, and I'm like, oh my God. I can look at anything, any painting, anything, and I can just see how I can form it all and create it all. And I'm like, anything, I'm like, oh my God, literally anything is possible, and we have the life force energy to do it and direct it in that way. I was just like, oh my God, I'm bursting with this energy. This is crazy. Everybody needs to feel it. I'm in this kind of manic state because I'm on acid. But I was like, oh my God, everybody needs to feel this. How do we make everybody feel it? How do we put it down into the physical, this spiritual, right? So that's what vibration translation is about, getting the spiritual right into the physical, which is, I feel what is going on right now in order to raise the vibration of the planet, as people talk about. Yeah. So I talked really fast there.
I like that. No, I like that. I'm a fast talker. YouTube can slow it down. Anybody that can't keep up, there's a setting that slows it down. But yeah, the other kind of point, and a real tangent, but still similar point, is that after we've had these experiences, integrating them into our everyday life, like carrying those lessons and remembering what those psychedelic experiences are trying to open up. I thank you for pointing out that it does break the neural pattern, the grooves, as one of my mentors really talks about. Like, we have default mental programming, and they
Default
are,
mode network.
yes,
Yeah,
exactly. And so I
it
like
breaks
that
it
idea.
apart.
Yeah. And so this work for me is really revealed to me, like the negative self talk. I mean, I used to wake up in the mornings. I don't do this anymore. But the reality of my life, my inner voice, I wake up every morning and the first thing I've got is just fuck, fuck, fuck. I can't believe I have to do this. What's next? Okay, got to do lunch for the boy. I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to drive through traffic. Holy crap! What time is it? 7:15. Fuck, fuck,
Yeah.
fuck. And I got to the point where I'm like, I'm done. I have to meditate and get into a new state where that vocal and that voice is gone. And so now when I wake up in the morning, the first thought is some divine thought. I try my hardest, and now I don't do it every day. I make mistakes. I don't hit the target, but my target is before my 2 feet hit the ground. I have somehow connected with my heart center, my set center of being. I've acknowledged that there's more to this reality than I could possibly comprehend. I want to embrace the mystery really as much as possible. I've really cultivated these mystical aspects. So for me to move forward in the world, I have to get mystical. I have to get into this embracing the mystery and embracing the unknown. And like, that's when I get into my, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it.
I'm getting tears. Okay.
I mean, I was done basically, but I'm just basically saying that the mystical mindset has really benefited me, and it's an abstract mindset, and it's hard to communicate in words. It's so much beyond words. As much as we love literature and as much as we are somewhat wordsmiths, as you are, I've written a lot of words. I can't wait to share some of those things with you as time allows. But yeah, I think now would be a good place to just segue into your experience with writing or just creativity and painting in general, because I do think this aspect of co-creative energy, co-creative intention with focus is really, really important as a way to mirror the universe as it operates as a creative matrix, however you want to call it. I think this point of creativity for me is what's really opened the floodgates of awareness and new possibilities as a drummer, a musician, a writer. I feel like speaking is an art form, painting, drawing, all that stuff.
Yeah, that was beautiful. So you're asking about my journey with creativity and the writing specifically, or just art or anything like that.
Yeah,
It's been
anything that comes up.
interesting. It's been interesting. So I like doing this stuff like writing, whatever. Sing, and no, okay, I wanted to sing when I was in elementary school, but I just decided it's not for me because of some experiences I had, and I felt like I just couldn't do it. But I always wanted to do that, so I am doing that now. Remove the try, yes. Yes. And in high school, I started taking like advanced art classes, and I enjoyed painting, but I didn't actually enjoy when I was doing it a lot of the times because I felt really stressed about how it needed to look like. And I was trying to force it into a certain vision. While I think it is nice to plan things out, I mean, that's how, very complex things can become made manifest with some planning people make and like really a lot of thought. And I'm not saying don't put thought and care. I'm just saying, like, for me, I got stuck in that preparatory phase almost of like, I don't know enough things. How could I even think I could do that? That's going to turn out bad. And anytime I created something that other people liked, I would be so defensive, like, don't look at it. Like, it's not ready. Don't look at it. It's not like, I was like, anybody try to look at my process of painting. I was super like knowing to get out. Like, I was very defensive, very. And I didn't accept compliments at all because I didn't feel like anything that I made was worth anything. And so with that, I was able to bring myself into a space. Actually, the first time I took acid, I painted on acid and I started crying because I was like, oh my God, these colors are so beautiful. Look, I'm actually in the flow. I'm actually enjoying it. Like I'm actually enjoying painting. Because I was able to get into that flow. So there's the structure of, yeah, you can plan a painting out or whatever, but then, or you can plan an outline. If you're writing a book or something like that, and if you're writing a poem, but really, if you're able to get into the flow, then you're able to harness that mind that's trying to work for you and structure things, and you're able to harness the openness of the mind and openness of the body and the soul, the spirit, all that for the divine for the unknown to come through, and to not feel like you have to control and force everything to be good, and to realize that, like, it's got to feel good, and that's the main thing. You know, if I'm creating something and it doesn't feel good for me to create it, why am I doing it? And if it feels good, I mean, that's the way forwards then, and that's what I'm learning. And for me with writing, like I said before, like it just, I call it channeling, because I can just sit down, and sometimes I have these moments where I know something's about to come through and it just feels really good, and it's like an insight. And then I either record it, like I literally recorded the tree meditation. That was all just recorded in one go, just an insight I had. I didn't like plan it. It was just like, okay, this is a concept that's coming forwards and trying to metaphorically express itself. I kind of stopped painting now just because I want to focus on other things. But with writing, like I have little blog posts and I have a bunch of poetry I didn't post anywhere. But with a lot of that, like literally one time I took a microdose of mushrooms and I went to the forest. I stood by a tree and it literally wrote me a whole poem. I mean, I was there interacting in the interactive space with the tree, but it wrote me a whole poem about the subconscious and how ideas come up. And it was this crazy, like, complex thing. And it's like, I really like that. And like a lot of things I really like, it's because I was able to, you know, get out of the way, right? As people say, like, step out of your own way and just interact with the world, engage. In writing, for example.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for bringing up the trees. You just saved the podcast. I want to read some. No, you did. I had this in mind and I was about to just skip over it.
Okay.
I have to read this. You know what I'm about to read, but this is for the audience. When you go out into the woods and you look at a tree, you see all these different trees, and some of them are bent, and some of them are straight, and some of them are evergreens, and some of them are whatever. And you look at the tree and you allow it. You see why it is the way it is. You sort of understand that it didn't get enough light, so it turned this way or turned that way. And you don't get all emotional about it. You just allow it. You appreciate the tree. The minute you get near humans, you lose all that. And you're constantly saying, you are to this, I am to this. That judgment mind comes in. And so I practice turning people into trees, which means appreciating them just the way they are.
And who is that by again?
That's Ram Dass.
Ram Dass, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it takes a lot, because it's kind of confronting. It's like, okay, well, if I'm judging you right now, I'm judging myself. You know, it's like, and it's this whole thing, like we said in the beginning, we're so self-critical of ourselves. So if we're so self-critical, of course we're going to be self-critical of everybody we see. It's a reflection of our judgment in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, but we can work on that judgment. So I just like to remind people of that.
Right.
You also speak to these things about just this constant renewal and this whole idea of choosing a new path. And so I just really want to thank you. We've got like 2 minutes left. If you have anything else you'd like to say, if you have any links, anybody, check out her blogs, check out her videos. She's got Instagram. All those links will be down on the bottom. I just thank you from the bottom of my green heart for you being here, for your willingness to show up in the interactive space.
Yes. And it again, just the concept. The more fear you feel, the more ready you are to break through the fear, because it's ready to be let go of. It's like the pendulum idea connected with what Bashar says, because again, I'm really watching Bashar right now. I kind of go through these phases. I used to watch Abraham Hicks, and I'm watching Bashar, you know. But with the pendulums, the reality transferring, it's like the emotion of fear, which can be, in that book, they kind of talk about it might be caused by external entities, or it's like an external entity of fear or of worry that wants you to spiral more and more and give more of your energy to that. I'm just trying to connect this concept, but you have the choice. And you can just take a breath. And it doesn't, that momentum doesn't, you can stop the momentum. And sleep resets the momentum too. Abraham Hicks says that. It neutralizes you. But you take a breath, you meditate, you become in the neutral state in your mind, doing meditation, you neutralize your momentum and you can choose anew from a clear slate.
Awesome. We're running out of time here, so thank you again. And I
Thank
sure
you.
hope we can do this again, but this is just the
Yes.
first discussion for everybody to enjoy. Just want to leave everybody with one thought and one thought alone: deep peace in the pneuma of now.